Unconditional love is loving and accepting the person exactly as they come. But the ego has its own versions of love. So for us to feel loved, people have to give us a certain kind of love. They have to give it to us in a certain amount of time, in a certain frequency, right? And we need certain behaviors from them. We need them to compromise and sacrifice so we can feel loved. And when we don't feel loved, we're justified in being resentful and being upset because we believe we're bereft of love and we are unfulfilled. And now, because we put that expectation on that partner, like that responsibility, right? They're responsible for, if they really love me, they would do these things. If you really loved yourself, you would do those things for yourself. You wouldn't project it onto the partner. You're the one putting conditions onto that partner. You're putting conditions onto the relationship. You're not unconditionally loving them and accepting them, which means you don't unconditionally love and accept yourself. Because the fulfillment comes from within. They don't need to love us in a certain way for us to feel loved. That's the illusion of the ego structure. And it most likely goes to your past, right? Go back to your childhood. What love did you not get? It most likely is plaguing you in this relationship too, or in life in general, right? So like, for example, my father was not he was vocal, but it was anger and it was shame and it was criticism. It was never, I'm proud of you. It was never, I love you. And he would blow up on you and then never apologize. So for me, words of affirmation were not something I grew up with. So that is something that I do like in relationships, but just because I don't get it doesn't mean I'm bereft of love. That person is loving me in other forms in their way, according to themselves, according to their childhood. And so if I unconditionally loved them, then I would accept those forms of love and feel loved by them. I wouldn't need them to compromise or change themselves or sacrifice themselves so I could feel loved. That's unloving. So this is where we want to practice forgiveness on all the belief systems that we think love has to come in a certain package in order for me to feel it. That's us not seeing love in all forms because love is formless. So love can be in any form. So it's up to us to see if we can see love. If you have love, you can see it in all the forms. If you don't have love unconditionally, meaning you have love prescribed in certain forms, you only see love in those forms. Therefore, if the form's not there, you think love is gone. No, you're just blind to it because you told yourself it's only in this specific way. And that's the ego structure. The ego wants to specify because that's how it plays God. It wants to create its own dogmas, its own creeds, its own belief systems. If you don't do this or do this, great, I love you, or I'm allowed to be upset with you. And that's when we become unloving. That's why we don't know love. Because to us, love is performative. Love is conditional. And the second that performance or those conditions aren't met, we're allowed to be upset because in our minds, there is no love. Therefore, what's the opposite of love? Fear, anger, upset. And so that's why we go into that. And that's why we want to forgive that so we can get out of that pattern.